We've spent 2 years scouring the globe for people who were at the heart of life-changing events.
Is that California then? USA?
This is a very strong lead for us.
I'm on my way to meet a man who spent the last 10 years searching for somebody from his childhood to say sorry.
"51-year-old salesman Jon Howarth is originally from Lancashire, but has lived in Belfast for the last 30 years with his wife and his daughter Tuesday.
To be a good father, you have to be a good man. You have to be the embodiment, if you like, of integrity and of honour and respect and strength. And I can honestly say that I think I've done that. And yet there's an element of my past where all of those things are shattered.
I missed you.
Jon grew up near Blackpool during the late 60s and 70s. For most of his school life, he and his friends bullied one of their classmates, Simon Pearce.
You could tell he was from a less fortunate background. All I saw was a reason to put him down, to kick and to punch and to slander and to call names. He was a punch bag. You know, if you had a frustration, you went and kicked Simon Pearce. It was a constant, everyday assault against his character, relentless. Nobody should have to go through that. There's no excuse. When did I tell you about this situation?
Good few years ago now.
And how did you feel towards me?
I mean, you're my daddy, so I love you and I love you no matter what, but I just know that you're a completely different man now. I know that that's part of his life that he regrets very, very deeply. The way he treated Simon, he carries it and he thinks of it. He thinks of it a lot.
Even after all these years, I'm still thinking about him. You know, and the truth is, there's two people damaged in this. There's obviously Simon, who must have all the sympathy, but there's damage to the bully as well, although he doesn't deserve any sympathy for it.
I've arranged to meet Jon in Ballygally, just up the coast from where he lives, to find out more about what happened between him and Simon, and see if we can help find him.
Jon.
Matt.
How are you?
Good to see you.
Good to see you too. So we're going to rewind the clock back then, back to school. When did it all start then?
The bullying. Why did the bullying start? It was in infant school. I noticed there was a commotion by the school wall. It turned out that Simon Pearce he'd had diarrhea and obviously hadn't made it to the toilet. The whole of the school, including the teachers, were in a semicircle around him, and there was a real sense of, how could this happen to somebody? This person must be something wrong with them. And really, from that moment on, he was the scapegoat.
How long did it continue for?
I don't remember it stopping. For us, it was just the normal thing to do. There was nothing unusual about it. He's the type of guy that just faded into the background until it was time for another beating, if you like.
What did you get out of doing it?
I suppose a sense of power.
You know, I have kids, and I was bullied at school. I mean, I did gymnastics as a young lad, which obviously in the Northeast is not the chosen sport, you know, it's football, rugby or whatever. And because I chose to go down that route, school was tough for me. So I worry for them, because I don't want them to go through what I went through, and that I was on the other end of you.
You're right. I was that guy.
Yeah.
Do you think less of me because of that, Matt?
Well, I'm very interested to find out.
Do you think less of me because of that, Matt?
Yeah, I do.
See, that's the reality of what I have to live with.
Yeah, and it's hard. Yeah. Yeah.
consequences of what I did are unknown. You know, that's what's so painful. If you could come back to me in a month's time and say, "No, Simon Pearce is actually he's doing okay. He made a good life for himself. He has a wife and family." Then these tears don't need to come anymore. But as it is, who knows the damage that I did?
Yeah. Here's me now, right, as somebody that was bullied, and I want to help you. Yeah, I want to help you find the guy and get out of it what you can and what he can.
Mm-hmm.
You're angry at yourself?
Yeah. I bullied Simon. I have certainly damaged him. The question is to what extent?
Well, having met Jon, the overriding feeling that I get is shame. A shame of how cruel he was as a young boy, and it is that that's driving this need to apologise to Simon. But if we do find Simon, what will he be like? Because you can't help but wonder what effect all those years of bullying must have had on him.
When Jon was growing up back in the late 60s and early 70s, bullying was almost seen as a natural part of childhood, often dismissed with phrases like, "just boys being boys."
Did you report the incident to anybody?
So the teacher was in the class, but he never done nothing.
He didn't do anything? When children report that they've been bullied, the response is, well, so what? You know, get toughened up. Everybody gets bullied.
I told the teacher that I was being bullied, and I don't think he really paid much attention. I don't think he was bothered.
In more recent years, researchers proved how widespread and damaging bullying can be. But it wasn't until 8 years ago that schools finally had a legal duty to prevent bullying.
It just takes away anything that any thoughts you've got about yourself, any good thoughts you've got about yourself, you know, they're out of the window because you're hearing constantly, all day, how bad you are, how bad you're looking, how fat you are.
The one thing that Jon is most scared of is the damage that his bullying may have caused Simon. And if we do manage to find him, I want to be prepared for what we might find.
So I'm meeting Dr. Dieter Volker, a psychologist who spent over 15 years researching the effects of bullying.
Dieter.
Hi.
Hello.
Nice to see you.
Oh, nice to see you too, and thank you, Dieter, for your time.
Okay, you're welcome.
Much appreciated.
Well, Dieter, we're searching on behalf of a man called Jon who wants to try and find the victim of his bullying. I mean, he has deep regrets of what he did to this Simon when he was a young lad at school, and it went on for years. What kind of effect do you think that could have on Simon?
The effects are very severe. Increased anxiety, increased depression, but in particular we found much more self-harming, suicide and suicide attempts. It makes it harder to trust anyone else, to build friendships, to have confidence to talk about your own feelings or your emotional feelings, so you're guarded. And of course that's important if you build a partnership.
Do you know, Deirdre, I think everything you're saying is what Jon will not want to hear. I mean, this is his biggest concern of, you know, the effects of what he did back then. I mean, can it ever be flipped round?
Of course, positive things can come out if you've got a turning point. I mean, our life is never determined all the way through. We always have got a chance to make a change, but you need the right people at the right place. It could have been a teacher, it could have been at the workplace, it could have been a partner, or could have been a good friend.
If we do ever find Simon and he gets to meet Jon, what effect will it have on him seeing the bully again?
It can be surprising, it can be very frightening, but there's one good thing. You see, if you have lived with this during the school time, one of the normal reactions is to see what's wrong with me. Yeah, why do they all pick on me? And Jon saying, I want to apologise. For Simon is saying, it wasn't just my fault. There is actually someone who says they did it and they wanted to hurt me. And under those circumstances, he might actually be able to say, I can forgive you.
Jon's been searching for Simon for over a decade. But with thousands of Simon Pearces living in the UK, it's like looking for a needle in a haystack. But there was one thing Jon remembered that gave us hope. An approximate address for Simon from the late 70s in Lytham St Anne's in Lancashire, the place they both grew up.
Great, thanks.
If we can find a record of this from the electoral roll, it might yield more information about Simon's family and ultimately his whereabouts.
So this is St Anne's Road, the address that Jon gave us. And a couple of problems here. It's such a long road that it's broken up into 3 different sections. And it's not in alphabetical order. It's in house number order. Hopefully we'll see the surname of Pearce. No. Nothing. Some of the properties are broken up into flats as well. Jon was sure that they lived here, but there's no mention of a Pearce.
In Northern Ireland, Jon is waiting for news of our search.
That's not a very good one, is it?
It's just like a Olympic. You don't see that very many good ones.
Although it happened so many years ago, it's still part of me. It's still part of me until the day that I can apologise to Simon Pearce.
It is very deep, and I hope that people understand that this isn't something just that, oh, I decided I wanted to say I'm sorry. He realises the impact that it could have had on Simon's life, and he wants to make that right.
I've spent on and off 10 years trying to find him, and you would think that there would be some trace of a person, but the trail is completely cold.
It's because he's my dad and I love him so much. I fear that he'll get hurt. But I know that it's something that he has to do.
Flat, is it?
Yeah.
Sort of. I don't want this as part of me anymore. I want to sit down with him and I need to apologise. I need to explain. And even if he doesn't accept that response, that apology, at least he'll know my heart, and at that point then I'll be free from it.
With the strongest lead that Jon gave us, Simon's rough address going nowhere, we're left with very little.
But what we do know about Simon is that he was in the same school year as Jon, and so born in 1963 or 64. Our only realistic hope of finding him now was by piecing together a picture of his life through public records. A check of the birth records and 39 Simon Pearces born at that time come up.
It's clear from this that Pearce can be spelt in lots of different ways. If we assume that Simon was born in Lancashire, that narrows it down to 2. Of the 2 Simon Pearces listed here, this one sadly died at birth, which leaves us with just 1 here. A Simon Pearce, spelt differently to the way that Jon remembers, born in 1964. Tracking this Simon Pearce, you can see that he gets married in 1993. And they have 3 daughters.
But when we tried to find an address for him, there was no trace. However, using social networking, we did find a Natasha Pearce living in Blackburn. Could she be one of Simon's daughters? We messaged her and she's agreed to talk to me. I hope her dad is the man we're looking for.